Hello everyone, Gaming Smiler here and welcome to my review of the original Halloween, which was directed by John Carpenter. It's now 41 years old. I kind of wanted to make this video earlier. I was going to make this last year and start this series off, but everyone decided to review Halloween, so I just decided not to. So yeah, now I am. This, as I said, it was directed by John Carpenter. It's also written by him, alongside Deborah Hill, and the music was also composed by John Carpenter, which is one of my favourite horror scores ever. It's very good. I'd give it probably about an 8 or a 9 out of 10. 8 pumpkins out of 10. Because it's Halloween, you know, the covers Michael with a knife, the pumpkin. Anyway, this is also Jamie Lee Curtis's debut, and she does a good job being scared, playing Laurie Strode. But yeah, the film's about an hour and 42 minutes long, so I would probably recommend this the most out of the Halloween movies. It's the original and it's the best. Not gonna lie. There's quite a lot of Halloween films now. But yeah, now we're done with the non-spoiler stuff, and we're going to move on to the spoilers. So, the film starts with opening credits with a pumpkin, and it says John Carpenter's Halloween. You got Michael's face carved into the eye, and you got a knife. But anyway, that's not the start of the film. It starts in 1963, it's Halloween, and there's Michael, who's stalking his sister. It's a POV shot, but he stalks his sister and her boyfriend. And her boyfriend is basically a minute man, because he's up the stairs for like 30 seconds and he runs back down. But yeah, Michael makes his way upstairs and kills his sister, Judith Myers, played by Sandy Johnson. And yeah, he runs outside and he gets captured. He gets caught by his parents, and then it's 15 years later. Michael is in Smith's Grove Sanatorium, and we see Loomis driving up with a nurse to the place. The reason that I give it an 8 is because some of the dialogue's a bit iffy. For example, there's Loomis calls Michael he, and then the nurse says, well, we stop referring to him as it and refer to him as he, not he. It's just a bit, even though he said he never said it, but okay. There's also a thing, there's a card on the front which will come into play later. I think it's the Red Rabbit it's called. I've watched this film several times and still can't remember that. But yeah, they drive up to the sanatorium and they find that all of the inmates are outside in the rain on Hallows Eve. Well, the 30th of October. So it's 1978. And Loomis is obviously a bit pissed. He doesn't like Mike. He's scared of Michael. He knows that he's evil, but no one believes him. Yeah, he's totally not evil when he kills his 17-year-old sister when he's 6 years old. But anyway, Loomis gets out of the car, and Michael steals the car, almost like just frightening the shit out of the nurse. And he drives to Haddonfield, and yeah, we then see Laurie. She's just leaving her house, you know, it's Halloween, it's in the morning, she's got school, she's got to go to, but she's got to drop off the Myers house key to the Myers house, because her dad's a real estate agent, and yeah, Michael's hiding in there, but she's basically babysitting a kid called Tommy, and his name's Tommy Doyle, and Tommy Doyle, he can be a bit of a pain in the ass to watch sometimes. Yeah, gets a little bit screechy sometimes, but yeah, also got to mention that Loomis is played by Donald presence and does a good job. As the film goes on, but still. Anyway, so after that, they basically talk about what they're gonna do at Tommy's. Carve a jack-o'-lantern, watch scary movies, do a lot of stuff, and just typical Halloween stuff. But he gets spooked when they arrive at the Myers house, and she acts like it's really strange to be scared, but Michael's standing at the door and she can't see him. But so she goes to school. They both go to school, and when they get to school, she's in an English class, and Michael's standing outside staring at her through the window. So I'm pretty sure Michael has keyed her in as an obsession, because Michael does obsess over people. Tommy runs into a bunch of bullies. These bullies tell him that the boogeyman's going to get him, and they make him trip, and he falls right on a pumpkin that he's holding. It's a big pumpkin. It breaks, obviously, because it's not meant to hold the weight of a child. And the kids run away after telling him that the boogeyman's going to get him, and the main one runs right into Michael, and he basically shits his pants when he runs into Michael. And Michael follows Tommy. He drives towards Tommy. Meanwhile, Loomis is leaving Smith's Grove, and he basically says he's got to go to Haddonfield, because that's where Michael will be. And the guy he's talking to is like, "How do you know?" And he's like, "Well, it's Michael. He's going to go to Haddonfield." I mean, it does say on the cover the night he came home, and his home's in Haddonfield. But they also cover a plot hole, which is Michael knowing how to drive. They just say, "We don't know. You just can't." So I don't know. It's it's not the greatest answer, but it's still an answer. You don't get that. You don't usually get an answer from movies when it comes to someone doing something you don't think you should be able to do. So he says maybe someone gave him lessons. Could be possible. I mean, he did spend 6 years of his life outside of the asylum, and he most likely saw his parents drive, so he probably remembered that. Because what else is he going to remember from the asylum? Fuck all. He does nothing. He just sat there and was quiet when he was taught to. But anyway, as things go, Michael, as I said, he followed Tommy. I forgot to mention that Loomis leaves earlier. But Loomis then finds a dead mechanic. Well, he doesn't find the mechanic. He finds the mechanic's truck, and then on the floor he sees the Red Rabbit card, and that's when he knows that Michael's been there. I mean, it's not like the outfit from the asylum's there. But anyway, so school's finished, and Laurie's walking with her friends, and Michael drives past. And I love the theme, because every time Michael shows up, you just hear the da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I like it. But Michael just drives past them, then he stops when they shout at him, and then he drives off, and then the next time you see him, he's at a hedge, watching them, and only Laurie sees him. And anyway, basically Annie, she's with her friends Annie and Linda. Annie and Linda tell her what they're planning. Basically, Annie's planning on scaring the shit out of Lindsay Wallace, the girl that she's babysitting that night, by getting her to watch 6 hours straight of horror films. And Linda's got a plan with her boyfriend Bob. And I mean, it's a horror movie, so you probably already know the plan. But so anyway, they all go home. Annie's arranged with Laurie that she's going to pick her up about 7, I think. So Linda goes home. Annie goes home after playing a trick on Laurie, saying that Michael is there and he wants to take her to the dance tomorrow. Don't know what dance. But so when Laurie gets home, she goes to her room, she looks out her window, and there's Michael there in her back garden near the washing. spooky. And then it cuts to her, and then it cuts back to him, and he's gone. And then she starts crying. She has a little bit of a breakdown, and then she gets a phone call. It's Annie, but Annie doesn't say anything the first time, which creeps the shit out of her. She puts the phone down, and then she picks up again, and Annie is talking to her. She says that she's got basically to come and pick her up and that. Anyway, next thing we see, she gets picked up, and they make their way to Tommy and Lindsay's neighbourhood, because they live on the same street. Like, literally, Lindsay is like across the street from Tommy. But as they do this, they're being tailed by Michael in a car. And also Loomis ends up talking to the sheriff, who's Annie's dad. And he basically tells him that they're all fucked if they don't find Michael. Everyone's gonna die if they don't find Michael. And at first he doesn't believe him. But then, as the night goes on, he starts to. But anyway, Annie and Laurie drive, and then they end up near where Annie's dad is, which is at a store that's just been got broken into that day. And all that's missing is knives, a mask, and rope. And yeah, I wonder who stole that. But anyway, Sam Loomis goes to the graveyard. I'm kind of mixing up the scenes. It kind of does that in my head, because Loomis doesn't really get very important until towards the end. But he goes to the graveyard to see what's happening with the graveyard. Goes in to see if Judith's headstone is still there. He ends up speaking to the guy working there, and he ends up trying to tell him a story about a man that hacked up his family with a hacksaw. And Loomis cuts him off as they reach the plot. And he goes apeshit thinking it's children that did it. Everyone thinks it's children that do the bad shit, because Annie's dad literally turns around and says it's children. But it's not the case. It's Michael all the way. When Annie and Laurie end up going to the neighbourhood after smoking a joint in the car, and in the car, Annie tells Laurie that she's spoke to Ben Tramer, which is a guy that I'm not so sure if Laurie likes him or not, about taking her to the dance on the next day. But anyway, so as I said, they make their way to the neighbourhood. Laurie goes to Tommy's, and Annie goes to Lindsay's, and things start to pick up with Michael, stalking them. He goes from each house to look at them. He ends up killing Lindsay's dog when he barks at him. And anyway, Annie arranges for. Basically, Annie gets a phone call from her boyfriend Paul, who's basically grounded, but his parents go out of town for the night, and so Paul plans to meet up with her, and she makes a plan to, meet up with her, or like she's gonna go pick him up and bring him to Lindsay's house, but there's one problem: Lindsay. So she makes plans with Laurie for Lindsay to go to Tommy's, because Lindsay really likes Tommy, and but Tommy doesn't really like her that much. But anyway, they end up watching The Thing from Another World, which is a 1950s horror film. It's one of John Carpenter's favourite horror films, and he'd later remake it with The Thing in the 80s. But that film's really good. You should see that. But so basically, the entire reason that Laurie says yes is because Annie said if she looks after Lindsay, then she'll go talk to Ben Tramer and tell him that she doesn't want to dance with him. But yeah. So, and he goes back, she gets to her car, and it's quite tense. The car's windows are all fogged up because Michael's in there, he's in the back seat, but Annie does the typical horror thing, which is not look in the back seat, and then she gets choked by Michael and stabbed. And then, yeah, Linda and Bob arrive at Lindsay's house later, and Tommy and Lindsay at Tommy's house are doing stuff. You know, they're doing the jack-o'-lantern and watching the film, and they've got popcorn. And Tommy looks outside and he starts screaming about the boogeyman again. He does that quite a bit. And every time that Laurie goes to look, he's not there. But yeah. So, as the film goes, as I said, Linda and Bob show up. They go to Lindsay's, and they get it on with each other. They have sex in Lindsay's parents' bed, which is a bad idea because they don't want Lindsay's parents to know that they've been there. So they better be careful. Things will get messy and the sheets will get ruined. But yeah, for some reason, Lindsay's parents have a fucking pumpkin on the bedside table, like a jack-o'-lantern. And anyway, after they've had sex, Linda gets Bob to go get her a beer, and Michael kills him. And he turns him into a wall decoration with a chef's knife. Basically, he pops out of a cupboard, grabs Bob and stabs him in the chest, and he stabs him right through into the door. And it keeps him up there, and then he tilts his head. But yeah, then he puts a sheet over himself, takes Bob's glasses, and he walks like a ghost of Bob. And he walks up to Linda. And she's not really that creeped out. She's not really bothered. She thinks Bob's just being quiet, and then she gets freaked out when he doesn't say nothing. After about a minute and a half. But she ends up phoning Laurie, and Michael strangles her with a phone cord. Yeah. So, Laurie kind of checks things out later, and she finds that they're... Hold on, oh yeah. So they basically get to the point where she goes looking for her friends, see what they're all up to. She goes to Lindsay's house, and well, she finds not something that she kind of probably doesn't want to. She finds the dead bodies. She finds Annie lying on the bed with this tombstone above her. You got Bob who swings out, and then you got Linda in a cupboard, which I don't know how that cupboard opened. It just opened by itself. Linda's body didn't do nothing. Michael didn't do anything. Neither did Laurie. It just opens by itself. But yeah, Laurie ends up running into Michael, and she gets cut on the arm, and then she runs away, locks herself in another room and tries to escape. But Michael's put a rake against the fucking back door, which is made of glass. So Laurie decides to do a smart thing and break the glass and move the rake and then run. She runs to Tommy's. Well, she tries asking for help, but no one wants to help her because everyone in Haddonfield's a fucking cunt. But anyway, she runs to Tommy's. She throws a plant pot at Tommy's window. This wakes Tommy up. Tommy opens the door. She gets in. She closes the door, tells him and Lindsay to go upstairs, and she locks them in a room. Well, no, she doesn't. She just tells them to go upstairs. But yeah, she turns the lights off, sits in the living room, grabs a sewing needle. Michael comes in through a window, I think, and tries to stab her. Doesn't work. He ends up hitting the couch, and she turns around and stabs him in the neck. And he falls down. And you you think he's dead, but he's not really dead. So Laurie lays there for a little bit, and Loomis is trying to figure out where Michael is, and there's a bunch of kids at the Myers house. They did go to the Myers house earlier in the day where they found a dead dog that had been cut open, but you don't see it. Because I like that bit though, because Loomis says that he got hungry when the police officer asked, when the sheriff asked who would do this. But yeah. So Loomis ends up scaring a bunch of kids on Halloween night at the Myers house, telling them to get them away from Michael's house. Yeah. Sheriff Brackett shows up, jumps, scares Loomis. Loomis tells him not get his men to say anything and shut the fuck up. But this is before the whole entire fiasco with Lindsay's. But anyway, with Loomis, he sees the car that Michael had, which was parked across the street and just a little bit behind him. Not the best look, Loomis, but yeah, poor Donald. But yeah, so basically he figures out that Michael's there, and he runs up and down the street, and yeah, this is where we get the part where Laurie goes upstairs, talks to Lindsay and Tommy, tells them that she killed Michael, and Tommy goes, "You can't kill the boogeyman." And as he says that, you see Michael's shadow walking up the stairs, and then he comes round, and they scream. Laurie locks them in a little cupboard, and then she runs into another room and gets in the wardrobe. I like this scene because Michael just he walks in, smashes his hand through the wardrobe door, pulls his hand down, and he's like stuck there. And Laurie grabs a wire coat hanger and stabs him in the eye with it, and he drops his knife, and then she picks up the knife, she stabs him in the chest with it with both hands. Michael falls back, seemingly dead again. She gets out the wardrobe, stumbles over at the door, and she stays at the door frame for a little bit. She then lets the kids out, tells them to go and get the neighbours, and to phone the police. And when they run out the house, that's when Loomis sees them and figures out that's where Michael is. So he goes in and he goes up the stairs, but Michael tries to get another swing at her, and she manages to avoid it. Then Loomis comes up and he shoots Michael. But we get to see Michael's face just before, because they're in a struggle, and she pulls Michael's mask up, and Michael is not very happy about not having the mask on. So he's like that, and he puts it back on, and then that's when Loomis shows up, shoots him once, knocks him into the room, and Michael just stands there as Loomis shoots him like 5 more times. And then he falls off a balcony, and Loomis looks at Laurie, who's sat on the floor sobbing, and she goes, "What's the boogeyman?" And then he says, I believe it was. And then Loomis looks over the balcony to see if Michael's dead, but he's gone. He's gone. He's nowhere to be seen. And then we just get the theme playing. That scene always still gives me goosebumps. I've seen this film several fucking times. I've lost count how many times I've seen it. But I mean, I still get goosebumps whenever that theme starts playing and Michael's gone. And then you see the shots of the previous places where Michael's attacked Laurie, and you get the theme playing, you get his heavy breathing, and you get Laurie sobbing in the background, and then that's the end of the film. It's pretty good. I love it. I love this film, as I said. 8 out of 10 pumpkins. But I mean, that's purely because there's some inconsistencies, but other than that I kind of picked up on. But I wouldn't say it's bad in any way, shape or form. No, it's not bad at all. I'd definitely recommend it if you want to watch a scary movie. especially a scary movie on Halloween, try a 41-year-old classic, Halloween. Give it a watch if you haven't. But yeah, you'll probably still get goosebumps too, even though I've just told you everything that happens. But I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like. If you didn't, do what you do. And if you're new here and you want to help me out, why not the subscribe button? I mean, it's up to you. But if you want notifications, you gotta hit the bell, because that's a thing. I'll hopefully see you next time. And goodbye.